Woo!
That's not supposed to be up there. There we go. Hey everybody, Jim Salmon's here, the Kayak Fishing Show, live, brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. Going to go with the old grapefruit sculpin today. Good warm weather beer, because we actually finally have some good warm weather here in San Diego. Cheers to you all. And welcome to our first of our episode airings. This will be episode 1 from season 9. We will be getting more of our episodes all loaded up here very soon, which I'm pretty stoked about. I've been told by my producer just this morning that he did get a hold of all of our first 6 seasons, and he is loading them now. So I will be able to be showing the really old stuff. Like I said, the plan at this point is Tuesdays will be the Jackson kayak years, and Thursdays will be the kind of throwback stuff back to the ocean kayak stuff. So Jackson kayaks on Tuesdays, all those episodes for the last 5 years or so, and then the early episodes on Thursday. So I hope you guys can join us. Excuse us if there's any hiccups while we're doing this, because like I said, this is kind of a different format than we've done other live shows, but pretty stoked about it. First off, before we really get going too much, I want to thank everybody who sent me birthday wishes today. I really appreciate that. I'm 1 year older today. I did post, it was actually kind of funny, is I had a memory in Facebook today saying that how glad I was to be, this was from 2 years ago, how glad I was to be at home doing nothing, sitting around and drinking a beer, because I had been on the road for the 23 prior days straight in New Zealand and the Bahamas. And I was so glad just to be home sitting around doing nothing. And boy, I sure wish that had changed. I wish we could go back to being able to get back on the road and doing what we love to do, and not being sitting around and not just sitting around drinking beers and not being able to do anything. So anyway, but I said I got a lot of birthday wishes from friends and folks, and I really do appreciate it. We'll say hello to a few people here. Tony, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us. David, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Jason, how's it going? The Airborne Gator is watching over on Kayak Fishing Tales, our YouTube channel. I do appreciate that. Sean, thank you for the happy birthday wishes. I do appreciate it. Who's we got? Liam Young, again, watching on Kayak Fishing Tales. Feliz Años. I'm so bad. My good friend Matt Moyer, he's actually going to be a guest on our show here in an upcoming one, because he was actually in some of the very, very early episodes in the one where we caught marlin down in Baja. So Matt's going to be my guest in an upcoming show. So with no further ado, I've got 2 guests on the show today, which I'm really stoked about. I tried to get Bubba Bedre on the show, and he said he couldn't make it. So we fell back on Damon. And Damon was the guest on this shoot. And then Bubba got back to me and said he could make it. So we're going to have 2 guests on this one. This show is, again, season 9, episode 1. It is Fishing for Alligator Gar with Bubba Bedre in Texas. So with no further ado, let's bring the guys up. Bubba, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Hey, Dave. How you been?
Good, man. We haven't talked to you quite a while. I know we kept trying to set something up to go fishing again, and one thing after another stopped us, and now this is stopping us. But at least we could talk fishing.
Yeah.
And Damon Bungard. Damon was on this shoot with us. And what you'll see, which is actually pretty cool, is unlike me, who's willing to go to any effort to try and get a fish, Damon was 100% dedicated to fly fishing and trying to get one of these gar on the fly. Ended up catching some other fish as well, as I recall.
I think I caught a long nose on the fly. I think I caught a small alligator, and some other just smaller freshwater fish. A lot of the time, though, I was kind of off in those smaller lagoons or that one spot that had current, trying to get a hook up that stayed on. My biggest problem was I couldn't get them to stay on the hook when they did eat.
Right. And I mean, you've been on the show with me, I think 3 times. Every time was fly fishing based. Every time you were 100% dedicated to the fly. The one time I talked you into not using a fly rod, you lost my rod.
I did. I don't even still don't know what happened. I was fishing. It was for black drum, right?
Yeah.
And you yelled, and I was coming over to video some stuff. And I know that when I turned the kayak to go over and video, the rod was there. But then when I got there to video, there was no rod there.
Yeah. So, oopsie.
I don't know. Gravity's a bitch.
Yeah. I mean, kayak fishing, you're in such a small space. Things.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, as we say, that's why you're supposed to put leashes on your rods, but I never do. Do as I say, not as I do.
So happy birthday. Good memory.
Thank you. So, folks, the plan here is to run the episode. We will be running the episode in its entirety. We will stop periodically through the episode and make any comments, answer any questions that we happen to see. There are natural commercial breaks in there, and then we'll probably stop at those and have a discussion and, again, talk about what we're doing. I think, personally, the coolest thing about this trip and this shoot, for me anyway, was the total learning experience. Going from, having Bubba to have to basically do everything for landing those fish and dealing with those fish and teaching us so much to the point where the last fish, I was able to drag that fish to the shore and basically dealt with it by myself, still with an assist because it was a good sized fish. But to me, that was the coolest thing. I learned so much, and they are such a cool animal.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to describe it. They're an animal. They're beasts, prehistoric beasts. And so, yeah, I mean, I'd never, just set the mindset of I'm going to try to get a gar on the fly like that trip. And, I mean, it was seeing them, coming up, gulping air and getting them on and, witnessing. I mean, I've never seen a fish lassoed before. So that was certainly a memorable thing. And I understand why it's necessary when you're trying to basically haul a dinosaur into your kayak.
Right. And I personally didn't find the fight to be that tough. It's more that these fish are just, like how they pull you around and all that. Yeah. But it's just so much weight, and they are such a handful once you get them up near the boat. I mean, we have some shots of them come up and shaking their head right next to the kayak. And it's such a big, hard head and full of teeth. It's impressive. And Bubba, I mean, I've watched your videos, and you're always posting up stuff. You've had so many just incredible catches on these huge animals. It's amazing.
Yeah, every year is a new learning experience, learning something new every time. And if I was to take Damon back out now, I think we would have a different show.
Well, it's
I think so. I personally, I started watching a little bit more after the fact. You seem like you were starting to get more of the fish on lures, and I think that would be a kick. And I think that's why I really want to go back there and try to do this again.
Yeah. Well, see, not long after y'all left, I caught 2 fish in the 150 range in the kayak, solo.
Wow.
We was running rattle traps, and then I changed the hooks and put great big treble hooks on them, and that was kind of the key on getting the hook up. Now, the fly thing is a little different because we was running, just a J hook, and it's a lot harder to get it to stick in them.
Right. I mean, I don't know, again, how many eats I had and fights, but as soon as that one would come up, as soon as the head would come out of the water or they jump, the fly tended to fly right out of their mouth. And that mouth is just basically bone in there. So with one hook, with one barb, I knew it was just going to be luck. The one time that it ate, and the hook maybe on the outside of the jaw and beyond long enough to keep tension and get it landed, or just might hit some magic spot in the mouth that it could bury. But and we also, Bubba had told me that it was going to be really hard for those water conditions we had because it wasn't clear. I couldn't sight fish for them.
Right.
I couldn't really hunt them like I wanted to. I kind of had a blind cast to where I knew they would be staging. That's why I kept going back to that one kind of pool with the current because they were staging on that eddy line like a lot of fish will do. But I'd love to go back when it's a little more flooded and clearer water and, really be able to focus the casts. I don't like blind casting with a fly, but obviously it's when it's all you got, it's all you got.
Right, for sure. Well, with no further ado, guys, let's bring this episode up and let's start running this thing, and hopefully we can bring in some questions and hope people enjoy it. Come on, there we go.
So now we're exiting stage left.
Well, you're still on.
Yeah. Now I can.
This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, we are in Palestine, Texas. We're going after a fish that I've never caught before, and that's the big old alligator gar. So, of course, to do that, we have to hook up with one of the best guides to do that from Garzilla Guide Service, Bubba.
I hear you open your beer.
And, of course, we brought along
opening
our
beer.
Damon Bungard from Orion Coolers. He's going to try and do this on the fly. We're looking at some big fish, some fun action, a great time. Stick around.
Word to the wise if your mama ain't taught you. Don't stand in front of a man and a fish he ain't caught yet. Honey, if the world calls me,
your guy by IPA is pretty good.
I'm going fishing. Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Would you like to? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Would you like to go fishing? I'm going fishing. Woo!
Oh, the old boat.
This was what it was 2017, was it?
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
These are all basically
We done upgraded.
from.
You got a new boat since then?
Fishing Tennessee, but
Oh, look at that fly candy right there.
our
These are all flies from my
keeping
friends,
big
the Vermont
shad,
Fly Guys.
Big, nice, fluffy.
What's up, guys?
These are all from Vermont Fly Guys. My buddy Brian, and then a fellow named Philip guy came by, friend of Bubba's, and he brought.
Pause. Have you guys seen this episode yet? Did we ever share it with you?
I don't know that I've seen it.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah, we're terrible. we do now make a point of sharing the episodes with everybody, but I said that's a good thing if you don't get WFN. Who is crunching papers?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, well, my wife, she's a CPA, and I'm in her office, and she's back there crunching papers. Everybody is hearing you back there rustling
Papers.
She can say hi.
Well, you want to come say hi, honey?
Say hi.
Say hi, honey.
Hi.
All right, well, let's get this thing rolling again.
Brought me these great carp flies.
Spent some time at home making up some heavy leaders, 130 pound test.
Yeah, your friend at the gas
Your
station was
wind-down
awesome
leaders,
with those
these
flies.
Seaguar threadlock, hollow core braid, and then Seaguar premium fluorocarbon, 100 pound.
We
Yeah,
bomb
Philip
fish
Fletcher made those for you.
like for fishing for catfish.
Yeah, they were killer.
Not
big chunk
Fletcher.
baits like you use for shark fishing.
I said the
Fishing
wrong
bottom,
guy.
free line and no weight. The problem is probably going to be getting him up top. He's going to go for a sleigh ride, I'm sure. You're going to drag him all over the lake. It could be an hour battle or 2 hours. It's going to be real interesting. I'm sure of that.
All right, Bubba. Obviously, I've never caught one of these small, let alone some of the big ones you got here. Got any tips for me? You know, what am I doing to present that bait?
Yeah, the first tip is you're gonna have to have a lot of patience. Second tip would be when one does pick up the bait, don't get excited, but you just got to let him swim around with it, and he'll go in a big circle, and then he'll stop, and you'll see your line go to jerking. And what he's doing is he's turning that bait around and placing it to swallow it. Then he'll take off and swim again, and normally he'll come right back to where he picked your bait up from. When he does that, you know he ate it. He's coming back to look for the other half of that fish. Then you know it's time to catch him. Jim, I'm gonna cut you up some bait for your rods. That head right there, you want to put that one.
Yeah, putting that buckboard to good use.
Yeah.
That's their favorite piece right there.
Like a buckboard and a hacksaw.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't bring a hacksaw with me.
I got two.
I used to carry a chop saw and a generator.
Oh, really?
Well, like I said,
It made
it's
a mess,
not,
though.
we're sitting here soaking baits. It's not like he cast anything out for me.
All right, what's going on, man?
You know, I'm not a big peddler, but that pedal boat worked really well for placing those baits out there.
That was still, I think, pre-production.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. At the time.
Yeah, you bring him over here by me, and he'll start jumping around again. They'll go up there and they'll play possum. As soon as you think he's done fighting, then he'll take off again. So stay ready, you know, in case he takes off.
I got myself my first alligator gar here. A little help from Bubba. And they're a big, ugly fish. We're just going to bring him up to you there like that?
Two ways you can do this. One, you can put your rod through this.
Yeah, when you first see these things, it's like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah, you see those
What are the
teeth.
chances of him jumping up towards me?
He's going.
That's
I got it. Don't worry.
That cracked me up. He's going to.
And there it is, the lasso technique.
Well, we've been fishing about an hour. We already got one. Stick around for more great action fishing with our buddy, Bubba Bedre.
That was the perfect beginner fish. It cut you a break.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by
Yeah, that was
Jackson Kayak. One family, many waters.
a
Orion Coolers. Never
small
lose your
one.
cool.
Was very cooperative.
Seaguar, the inventor.
But like I said,
protector
at the very
of
beginning, I thought it
fluorocarbon
was
fishing
very
lines
cool
and
that
leaders.
for me, I mean, it did work that way. It was a smaller one initially. I mean, that whole learning curve through the whole thing and learning how to deal with them for me was probably the coolest part about the trip.
I think he had some footage there when I was over there looking for water snakes on the bank.
Well, we're back.
And you're
fishing
always looking for
Alligator
snakes.
Gar with Bubba Bedre. We had a nutty day yesterday, and we're looking forward to more big fish today.
I recall sweating a lot. I do recall it being hot.
It was super humid.
Yes, there's my pool. The head of that pool. Swinging those flies through that eddy line
Here
was
in
good.
Palestine, Texas. Guide Bubba Bedre, Alligator Gar guide. He's on Team Orion. We've met the last couple of years, and he just keeps showing me gigantic photos of monster gar with Orion coolers. So I said, you know what? I think I got to come down there. I got to bring a fly rod and go for it. Friend Jim Salmons is here. We said, hey, let's make a show of it. So here we are outside of Palestine, Texas. We're trying to get one of these big boys in a kayak, and pretty good shot. It's going to happen.
So what I'm doing here is, because we want to get the baits way out there in the channel, and I have to power pole in here in shallower water. So tossing one bait out, paddling away from it in free spool, dropping another one out, and then putting it in free spool, and dropping another one out, putting it in free spool, and then back paddling into the shallow water, and then power poling down.
When those micro anchors
So I can
work,
hold
they sure come in
position, and then
handy.
you just sit
Oh
here,
yeah, I just got the
and wait for
clamp
those fish to
bracket
pick it
to
up.
mount one on a canoe,
Oh, nice.
a square stern canoe.
He's just laying here. Now he's not. It is really a patience game, man. I had to let this thing run for 10 minutes at least. They just swim with it. They swim with that bait and swim with it. Then I thought he came off, but I guess he just was swimming back toward me. One of the things that you're lucky with a fish like this is these things actually come up in full pair, so they can actually be handled for a long time out of the water. I mean, like I said, they're kind of a prehistoric fish, but they're very, very hardy. Their skin is like tough as steel, and having somebody like him, maybe a two-man operation. Here, let me put my foot down. There you go.
And the fact that they come up in Gulf Air is just enough to drive you crazy because they let you know that they're there, but then you can't get them to eat a fly.
Kind of like when you see the tarpon doing that.
Exactly.
Woo!
Or even salmon. Like a lot of people see salmon porpoising and like, oh, it's feeding and it's eating. I'm like, no, it's not. It's
fly
just
fishing knot.
porpoising.
And the knot that I like.
There's one of the ones, the smaller ones I got on the fly.
On the fly, so the fly can actually move a lot better.
Isn't that cute?
I know.
Tie it.
Look at that nice little baby one. So what species was that, Bubba?
That was about a 3-year-old alligator.
Fly.
Okay, so it wasn't alligator. I thought it was.
Yeah, it's just a young one.
Go back.
But what other species were there? There was long nose.
Long nose, spotted
Back
gar,
through the loop again.
Okay.
and there's a few hybrids, which is a cross between a long nose and an alligator gar. We don't catch a lot of those, maybe 1 or 2 a year.
We're going to fly this one out.
That is not a fly he's putting on right there.
Fish come up.
That is a steak.
We're going to fly the bait out and drop it in his area. Hopefully he'll come by and pick it up.
I'll let him just keep playing, or what do I do here, brother?
You can probably go ahead and land him and not even have to reel in the other one.
Let's see what happens. That one starts to go again.
You might land a double out of a kayak. That'll be the first time. Anybody ever landed a double gar out of a kayak?
You see, that's what I'm talking about.
That was cool. Hey, Damon.
Stop looking for snakes.
Come over here. Well, we got one boat on the boat getting picked up. I got a fish on it. I got another one on the other bait. So we kind of have 3 rods kind of in play right now. Like I said, sometimes it's a matter of teamwork. I mean, he's close, so.
Didn't I try to put his mouth in your lap?
I recall something. It's feeling uncomfortable at some point with the plan.
Now. Okay. Got it.
Right.
There he comes over. Just
Give
put
you a
his
little lap dance.
And that's
yeah.
why
Just,
we like to do this
just
as
put
a
his
team.
mouth on my flip flop wearing feet right there for me.
So much easier. Woo! I mean, that's not even a giant one, but man, super fun. Kind of had a double hook up there, so definitely needed the assist on that one. Go chase down the other one. The other one got wrapped in a tree limb, but yeah, we did that solo kayak anyway. Let's get that hook cut out of him and get him back in the water.
I can tell you was uncomfortable there, Damon.
Figure out what am I supposed to be doing with this thing.
100% kayak on that one, baby. That's fun.
Mostly I was thinking of when I get one on one of these on the fly alone back in the color. What am I going to do?
Jackson Kayak, one family, many waters.
So I know there was a couple questions came up here. Dave asked, what was your fly setup?
It was a 10 weight. Yep, it was an Orbis setup. 10 weight, 9 foot. Pretty standard. That's a rod that I've caught like permit on and smaller tarpon on, and I don't have anything really stouter than that. I knew that it wasn't going to be much. The rod itself wouldn't be enough to really overpower the bigger fish, but that's where you can use the kayak. So that's where you just, you let it pull you and you let it get tired by pulling the kayak. You don't have to necessarily use the use the power of the rod to wear the fish out. You use the kayak to do it.
Right. Yeah. So you don't. So you think a 10 weight is pretty much as heavy, even if we got into the bigger one?
No, I mean, I would have just to maneuver the fish near the boat. I probably would have broken that big rod, but that rod I had. If I was pulling tension on it, it slapped its head, it probably would have snapped it. So I would really 12 or 14s. I think, really? For the big fish for sure. Yeah, I mean, those are a couple 100-pound fish you're talking about. So.
Hey, Bubba, Tony has a question. What was the water depth range, or what's generally the water depth range you tend to see these fish in?
Well, the magic number's 10, and where we was fishing there in the show was right about 9 or 10 foot. That pool Damon was hanging out in that he liked so much, I believe it was around 12.
Yeah, and I was fishing a sinking line, trying to get the fly down.
Gene Marino says, beautiful fish. Gene Wilson joining us. Gene, thanks for joining us as always. Edgar asks about if any of you guys eaten alligator gar.
I haven't. I've eaten plenty of alligator. I have not eaten the gar variety of an alligator.
What about you, Bubba? That's your backyard.
Yeah, I've had them. I don't too much care about eating them, but I've had them cooked by several different people, and it's very good if it's cooked properly.
Yeah, Tony Evans actually says, eat back straps of regular gar, not the worst fish I've had. I don't know if not the worst fish I've ever had is a ringing endorsement.
Right. You're not selling it, Tony. You're not selling it.
And Mark, I guess, is talking about that big chunk of bait because you might need a 20 rate rod to throw.
Yeah, no doubt.
For sure. Actually, we showed us catching a few and releasing a few already. Bubba, these fish are pretty hardy. Yeah, I mean, they do well with catch and release. Yeah,
we haven't had that bad of I guess you would say casualties from catching them. It does happen, as with all fish, and you really want to hook them in the mouth if all possible. But in some cases, that's not what happens.
Yeah. Is there any kind of a tagging program on them where people can actually keep a little bit more track of it?
Yes, currently we're working with Texas Parks and Wildlife, tagging and documenting the fish. All of our guides and my guide service is tagging for them. And what they're doing is documenting where the fish was caught at, how much, well, not how much he weighed, but how long he was. And then if he's recaptured somewhere else, they can tell it how much he's grown and how far the fish has traveled. So
you pointed out that one that I landed on the fly alone, my main accomplishment there, did that. But you said that was probably as a baby, you estimated a 3-year-old. So the big, when you're getting in triple digits, over 100 pounds, and some of the bigger fish that Jim landed later in the show, ballpark age guess of how old those fish are.
Well, a rule of thumb that I go by is they grow about a foot a year till they're between 5 and 6 years old. That'll be a 6-foot fish, and then it'll slow down to inches. So once the fish is in the 6-foot range, you can't really, when he's over that, you can't really guess how old he is. I can kind of look at them and tell by the colors of them, and if he's a real old fish. The younger fish, like say a 20-year-old fish, will be more active than a 70 or 80-year-old fish.
So that old though, you're talking human lifespan age.
Yes,
70,
yeah, they live as long as we do.
Wow.
But you can tell, you pull up an 80-year-old fish, it acts like an 80-year-old fish. I mean, it'll move around and flash his tail in his head, and then he'll just kind of calm down, and that's it. He's ready for you to take a picture and throw him loose. But the younger ones, they put up more of a fight and try to get away from you.
Mm.
So
impressive.
No says gar is very good eating. If you fry it, don't let it float all the way up. Been catching them since he was a kid. They are fun. Dave actually has a question. Is the gar fishing as good in Dallas and Fort Worth as it is in Palestine?
I think it's better in Dallas. It's an unpressured area of the river that hadn't seen a lot of bow fishing. And the fish up there tend to be real big. There's not quite as many fish as there is down here, but there's good quality fish up there.
Very cool. Well, let's get back into it. Let's get this thing rolling again.
Back to Jackson Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show. This week we're in Palestine, Texas with Bubba Bedre of Garzilla Guide Service. We're chasing.
There was a lot of that
huge
sitting and
alligator
staring
gar
at your
for
line,
kayaks.
waiting for it to tick out.
Yeah. No, my custom sun socks
Sitting on
there.
my
My
hands.
custom toeless sun socks.
They were
Basically, I just
beautiful.
kinda following this thing. I don't want to get too much line like we were doing with the other rods because my other reels are much bigger. I'm having to keep it a little bit closer, keeping slack line, paddling up on it when I need to, winding out some slack when I need to.
Oh, that's right. I caught it on that kind of lighter bass rod.
Let go of it right there.
And that's why you don't use a little bass rod. You can't set the hook.
Jeez, where the hell is it?
There's so much line out.
It's in Dallas.
He's underneath you.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of lines in the water. Damon's basically fly fishing, but he wants to catch a big fish too. And occasionally, we had 3 lines going at one time. I needed to be able to hand off to him. He's not super familiar with using lever drag reels, so I'm going to give a real brief rundown of how to use one of these reels.
Pay attention, Damon.
On a lever drag reel, you can.
I'm still dying to
preset
get
your
one of
drag
Seaguar's lever
with
drag
a small
flies.
knob on the
Reel.
side.
They're really cool.
So you know
They
exactly
are
where it is.
amazing.
You're never going to be in the wrong position. So you preset it, put it at the weight you want it at, and that way you'll never go past it. But like I said, the beauty of the lever drag reel is when you get that fish really close, you can just back that way off, still be in drag, still be controlling that spool. My line's starting to move. You're still controlling that spool. You never go completely out of gear, so you don't have to worry about backlashing, but you've just got enough pressure to hold that line in place. If the fish decides it's going to run, it can run without yanking the rod out of your hand or snapping.
I mean, it's really close to how a fly reel drag works. I mean, I'm always adjusting
wind on it, boss?
the drag on the side. It's a lot easier with the lever
I'm gonna
for sure.
Get myself in a better position.
Well, the thing about the lever is it's preset, so you're never guessing where you are.
Right.
Not get dragged around this.
So you set it at the max drag you want to have, and then
Yeah, because on fly reels it's just an infinite spin. You don't
Yeah.
really. You're going by feel. I like the fact
Been
that
on the
you have
water
that range,
about 13 hours. I'm kind of tired.
especially fighting a big fish. I mean, that's how you protect your tippet on a fly line, and I'm always adjusting
Want to put the rod through?
on big fish.
it's that one with the. This was a good size fish, as I recall. This was a good size fish, and this is that one that had that jacked up
Weird
back.
battle. When
Yeah.
I felt him, it went underneath the limb, but I could feel it wasn't locked tight underneath the limb. But I could feel the line just going back and forth and back and forth, and I just stayed there. And stayed
That's something
until
I'll never forget is the
changing my
sound of them
angle.
breathing.
And finally, I got him to swim out, and when it popped up, it was so much bigger than I was expecting because I was fighting a branch.
You can
for
actually
a good
hear them
part of it,
gulp.
So it's hard to tell
Yeah,
how big the fish
and you wonder
was.
why
It's
they're
a
called an
big,
alligator
bam,
gar. I
bam,
mean,
it's
just look at
tight.
that.
Right.
But man, when his head came out of the water, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a big girl. 35 and a half girth. 144 pounds.
144 pounds.
Times girth divided by 700. And it'll be off a couple pounds, but that'll give you a good estimate.
So it was a couple pounds more than that.
It could be more or less now. It could have been less. But see, you can see that fish is broke back.
Yeah, he had a humpback.
He caught the handicap fish.
I need all the help I can get, so I'll take the handicapper.
We still got one more to go.
You buy
Yeah.
Orion coolers.
Tony says he wants a Seaguar fly reel.
Yeah. Get in line, pal.
Yak Attack.
Well, they are available. You just got to.
They are. I know. Now's a good time to go shopping online.
Seaguar.
Serge says no alligator gar here in Canada, but we have gar pike, and they're a blast to catch.
Piker.
And gar pike. That's actually what the Russians referred to the alligator gar as, a gar pike.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I'm talking with them, booking trips and stuff, they call it a gar pike.
Do you have a lot of Russians coming to Texas?
Oh yeah, lots of Russians.
Nice. Bringing in the commies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're fun to fish with too. They're a blast.
Bring a lot of vodka?
Well, no, they drink whiskey when they come over here.
Oh, good.
Chasing dinosaurs.
And cigars, smoke them.
So I had the chance to use one of the very first Jackson Kayak Kusa FDs, which is their flex drive. Very different for me. You know, I'm used to being a paddler, but some really cool things about it was like I was able to set my baits and then back away from them. The flex drive's also got this cool feature that if you go into shallow water and you bump something, the prop will actually come up and won't damage it. So some really neat features. They put a lot of thought into it. So they're scavengers. These guys are picking up.
I don't know what I'm doing there.
Dead stuff off the bottom, but they've got to be predators.
Well, neither do I.
They've got to be predators.
Yeah, they're definitely a
I like the choice of footwear. We're like,
yeah.
We got barefoot action. We got some stylish loafers, I want to say. I was rocking the flip-flops with socks. Cola socks.
Kind of have the same attitude we have.
Well, us fishermen are very stylish.
Not just abuse
we should
fishery, so you can come out here and catch these fish over and over. And Bubba's just been.
Camille says nice boats.
Thank you, Camille. They were her. She. If I recall, we had her kayak trailer full of her demo fleet.
Showing us around.
Yeah.
It has been just invaluable. You know, it's been huge. There's no way we could have done this without him.
My fascination with it, actually is with the guiding side of it, is the being able to make other people's dreams come true that want to see one of these fish that's never seen them, that's only read about them in books. Being able to see their face the first time they pull up one of these big fish.
And I always say, you know, you don't need to hire a guide for every single day of your trip, but even if you just hire them for that first day to kind of get you dialed in, it's money well worth spending. It's right here, probably 30 feet away from me, if that.
But we got the same fish.
Oh,
yeah, one of the hooks is just laying there.
We got 3 lines on the same fish.
Yeah, this guy swam through all of our lines.
I'm making you a friendship bracelet.
You know, one of the things that I love about what we do is we get that learning.
Oh, that wire.
This trip has been very much a learning experience. You know, the first day it was kind of, I wasn't prepared for what we were doing, just kind of sitting and missing fish because I didn't have the patience. By the end of this, you know, third day, you know, I feel confident. I feel better about, okay, I know how long I need to wait on a fish. I know when I probably need to set the hook. There we go.
It is a patience game, man. You got to really let them eat it.
This one's got more fight than any of the
You
other
can
ones
actually
I've
see
had.
that in the show. In the beginning, you're all tense, and at the end, you're all relaxed with your feet propped up.
It's a good fish, dude. If this is not the bigger of the two that I've got, I mean,
I'm pretty sure I'm off in no man's land with a fly rod right now.
I think you were.
I got her.
I recall getting radioed. Hey, Damon, come out of that. We need help.
All kayak. How you sell? I just sat back and watched.
Woohoo! All I know is
So I took off my PFD. You know how much grief I got for taking off my PFD in ankle deep water?
What an epic trip chasing these Garzillas. I hope you enjoyed the show. We sure had a great time here. Yes. Thank you so much, brother.
We did it.
Oh, man. Successful adventure. Here she goes. Whew.
Thanks, Bubba.
Thank y'all.
I'm so glad you
Nice
came
work,
back.
Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I am
I
a
was dead
slimy mess.
set on getting one back in that cove.
Well, you are about the most dedicated fly fisherman I've ever seen.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. That means I'm certifiably stubborn.
It's very true.
I am. When I get my mindset, I'm pretty set. The thing was, I was getting eats. I was getting them to hit, and on fairly regular. I mean, and it was like just the fly just stops when they hit. It's just like hitting a brick wall. It's like you're snagging a log, and then it starts to move, and then every one of them was like, "Is this the one that's going to stay hooked? Is this the one that's going to stay on?" And then usually out of the water, and there goes my fly, there goes the fish, and back at it.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, like we said, their mouth is so hard and bony, and just trying to get that hook actually into them when you're doing a strip set.
I was every time I was just hitting as hard as I could, trying to strip set. You're fishing hooks with, I don't know, a gap a little over inch. I mean, again, I was like, maybe one of these will wrap around to the outside, hook into the top. Was my thinking. I was like, maybe I can get them to, because there were some that I saw they'd follow, and Bubba told me how they get it by their head and they'll kind of slap at it sometimes, versus a lot of fish will come up behind it and kind of stalk it. So I was trying to, when I could see them, and there were certain times when they'd come up high enough in that water column where you just kind of. I recall one. I was just like, it came up under me, and it was. I swear it was as long as the darn kayak. It was just like, it reminded me of like a manatee. If you ever kayak with manatees, and like a manatee comes up, and you just see this pale shape, and it was like that light brownish muddy water, and I just recall seeing this pale yellowy shape just coming up, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious, and. So I mean, I had some good stuff stuck in the head anyway.
Just such a cool fish. We've got a few questions here and comments. Dave Thompson, shout out to Yak Attack. They've converted their manufacturing to making personal protective equipment for hospitals during this crisis. Yeah, they actually have a GoFundMe going to help them pay for materials. But I mean, as soon as this all came up, Yak Attack, Luther. Converted everything over and started just charging forward to help, and that's just the kind of cool company they are to work with.
Yeah, we were all practicing our face coverings. I was wearing a lot. I see Bubba's got his mouth covering right now.
Yep.
So practicing. There you go, face coverings. We were doing it before it was even healthy to do.
Yeah, the cool thing about being fishermen, most of us have a ton of those.
I know. Like I've been wearing. That's what I wear when I go out.
Dave has a question. What is the preferred dead bait for gar?
That would be carp. Common carp. Yeah,
Carp head?
Carp head. Was that that's secret bait right there?
Yeah, all the carp fly fishermen just like, what?
Philip says, awesome gators and yaks. Thanks, Philip. And Dave says, great show. Thank you so much. Reginald, thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. Camille, Damon, you and Scott need to fish together. He's determined to. Me not.
I'd love to fish with Scott. He's a fun guy.
Yeah, I'm not so determined either. I mean, on my last trip to the Bahamas, I pretty much stayed on the fly rod, even though it was windy as heck every day. On
our Belize trip, you put in solid effort.
Yeah, again, why? Someday I'm going to go fly fishing, and it's not going to be windy, and then maybe I will do a little bit better. Bubba, if anybody wants to reach you to go fishing with you down there in Texas, how does somebody get a hold of you?
GarzillaFishing.com website, or you just Google Bubba Bedre. plenty of links on the internet to me.
Yeah, like I said, and if you look at his Facebook page or, he's got so many videos and stuff of them catching these monster fish, whether you're fishing from a kayak or, mostly what they do is fishing out of the boat. It is so cool. Damon, you have some stuff going on. Anybody you want to plug? Jaeger tracks, anything you want to throw out there?
Jaeger's he's my dog. If you want to see some fun hunting dog, tracking dog, finding big deer stuff, that's jaegertracks.com. I want to thank 12 Weight, all the sun stuff that I was wearing. Sun coverings were from the company 12 Weight, awesome sun protection gear. And thanks to Orvis for all the fly stuff, and for my fly guys for all those big, juicy, meaty flies. I was using mainly muskie and pike flies, and they worked great for the gar.
Yeah, like I said, it was a super cool trip. And like I said, I don't sit around and watch my show. So I'm going to have a chance now to relive a lot of my old trips, and I'm really looking forward to that. So I hope everybody wants to join us for any of these. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And stay safe out there and keep yourself covered up, and hope we will all get to go fishing together again soon.
That's right. Happy birthday again.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Hi to Eileen and the dogs.
I will. The best to Ash and the family and everything else. So I'm going to drop you out, guys. And again, thanks for joining me. That was a lot of fun remembering that trip.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow. I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. I did. Like I said, it was a super cool episode with these amazing fish. And Bubba, who's just a fantastic guide, and Damon, of course, always a good friend of ours who we get to fish with, and I always learn a lot from, particularly on the fly fishing side of things. So again, we'll be doing this again on Thursday. It'll be one of our older episodes, some of the season 1-2 stuff. Because again, we got over 130 episodes that we can air. So we're going to be doing this a couple days a week at least. So hope you join us for our next one of these on Thursday, same time. Until then, if you are going out fishing, please wear your PFD, wear your buff, and keep your paddle right side up. Y'all take care.
I'm going fishing.